And great. Jaime, you can start.
Okay, good morning, everyone. This is my presentation. My presentation is the conflict in the Middle East, a history of climbing and international role playing. Um, the geopolitics of Middle East is marked by its strategic localization, natural resources such as oil, and historical conflicts influenced by the fall of the Ottoman Empire and the British mandate of Palestine. In Israel and other Middle East countries, conflicts have led to population displacement and social tensions, while various groups maintain resistance and civil struggles for territory, security, and political rights. Um, in this case, of the important points of the topic, in this case of the geopolitics of Middle East, strategic localization, natural resource, historical tensions, historical background, Ottoman Empire collapse, British mandate of Palestine, um, other parties conflicts, creation of Israel, become states, regional conflicts, Arab and Israel war, international relationships and use alliance, complex global relation, and complex historical conflicts. Other diapositive, please. In this case of the geopolitical map Middle East, in this case of the cradle of civilization, the agricultural settlement from 9000 BC and political system for 2500 BC, and the end of the civilization is in over 500 years of Ottoman rule, interrupted before the system breakdown of 1940. The religious force is the division of Islam after the death of Muhammad between Sunnis and Shiites. Um, Other diapositive, please. The drawing of boards in three parts, the starting points, collapse of the Ottoman Empire due to World War, division of land by France and Great Britain, and security control of Palestine, and challenge of Ottoman administration for weather's cartography. Other other part is that the British mandate and international legitimize the legal obligation, the demographic silence, and the division Article 25 is in the Article 22 orders Great Britain to mandate over Palestine to establish the state of Israel. And Arab religious and civil rights are not altered, but political rights and independence are omitted. Another point is UN and plan to divide the territory into the Arab and Jewish state. The other graphic is the turning point in two parts, the resolution and the reality of the war is an end of the British mandate and the outbreak of the Arab-Israeli war. Other part is 80% of Palestinian Arabs expelled. Other part important is the Lanavka. Lanavka is an refugee camps in the West Bank, in Jordan, in Lebanon, and Syria. Other point is loss of ancestral land, infrastructure, and capital. fatal collision in refuge camp. Other diapositive is decades of region in Antifadas. It divided in two parts, in the first Intifada and the second Intifada, in different points, in trigger, the dynamics, the results. In the second Intifada is the trigger and dynamics, the codes. Is an civil disobedience, strikes and protests, Oslo Accords and political autonomy, political provocation in Al-Aqsa, militarization and increased sentinels. British Empire supports the establishment of the Jewish state, and last is created Jewish immigration due to anti-Semites in Europe. Another diapositive is the next is an imperial promise in immigration and surgery. Is divided in three parts: in the Balfour Declaration, demographic effect, and the friction. It's in year 1147. Arab revolt by the British administration and Arab resistance. Official proclamation of the Jewish state by the UN and first Israeli war. Palestinian exodus and displacement and refugee crisis, and other part in other diapositive. And next two, please. It's an point in inflation and two-story reality. Is in divided in two parts, in the state of the Israel and Nauka. In 1947, the United Nations proposed partitioning Palestine into a Jewish state, an Arab state, and creation of the Israel in a 1948, and the beginning of conflicts with neighboring and Arab countries. The Nafka is catastrophe and was the mass displacement of Palestinians in 1948, followed with the creation of Israel and the Arab and Israeli war. It's basically it's an presentation another. It's an 7 decades of mutation and military. It's in line of time and different moments. Some asymmetric conflicts and first and second Antifada and disruption of the status quo and military occupation. An invasion of Lebanon and major conflict between Israel and Iran. And the last presentation or last diapositive is a conclusion. Conclusion beyond borders in three parts. And Pillar 1 is on deep roots, and Pillar 2 and global vulnerability. Pillar 3 diplomatic imperative. Is an historical conflict over religion and territory, regional escalation through the Strait of Hormuz, and energy security risks. In multilateral diplomacy in the face of the global security collapse. It's basically my presentation. For last is the bibliographic reference. Is my all of the topic. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you for your presentation, Jaime. Let's go ahead and start with the questions. Who is starting?
I have a question, Jaime. How did the conflict affect families?
Okay. The conflict affecting the families and displacements and exodus and disruption of the families and immigrant and other parts in other countries and difficult for the foods and the health and different problems of the economic resource basically my answer.
Okay, great. Thank you. Next question. More questions?
Why did you choose this topic?
Okay, for me it's important watching the news in the international problems. In this case of it's an conflict for the many years and a cause of the problems and level global. It's an important for me. It's at the 10 and the news in different regions of the planet. It's important. It's interesting for me, the topic.
Okay, perfect. Next question.
What can they reach an agreement? Yes.
It's important difference according of threats and international governments and politicians generating the change in the world in overall of the Middle East and different treaties of the peace and reduce of the conflict in Middle East, and it basically is important different traits in different parts of the world.